The sun was high in the sky, pouring its heat over the wide golden desert. Sand stretched endlessly in every direction, rolling like waves across the land. A group of humans walked slowly, their boots sinking into the hot surface. They were explorers, scientists, and workers who had come to this distant colony world searching for ancient signs of life. At the head of the group walked Myra, a young archaeologist with sharp eyes and steady steps. Myra had studied the strange legends of this desert for years. Local settlers spoke of hidden shapes under the sand, places where compasses spun strangely and machines often failed. Many believed it was only natural magnetism, but Myra suspected something more. She carried in her pack small instruments that could measure energy, and the closer she walked to the heart of the desert, the stronger the readings became. The group moved toward a tall ridge where the wind had blown away some of the sand. From above, Myra saw sharp lines cutting through the surface. They were too perfect to be made by nature. She paused, her breath catching, and pointed. "There," she said firmly, her voice calm yet filled with excitement. "Do you see it? Those are not natural shapes. Something is buried here." The workers set down their tools and began clearing the sand. Hours passed, the sun fell lower, and the first shadows stretched across the desert. Slowly, stone and metal began to appear. The uncovered surface was smooth, darker than sand, and it gave off a faint shimmer as though light clung to it. The more they dug, the more the structure revealed itself. Soon it was clear that this was no ordinary ruin. It was massive, stretching wide and tall beneath the sand. Its shape was sharp, triangular, with sides that rose upward at precise angles. Myra felt her heart racing. "It is a pyramid," she whispered softly, almost to herself. "Not natural. Built with purpose." The team stood in silence for a moment, staring at the revealed surface. The pyramid had been buried for unknown ages, yet its walls showed no cracks. It seemed untouched by time, as if waiting for someone to return. At night, the desert grew colder, and the team set up camp near the uncovered side of the pyramid. The stars above were bright, more brilliant than on Earth. Myra sat near the fire, holding her notebook, writing everything she had seen. Her hands shook slightly, not from fear but from the overwhelming feeling that she was standing on the edge of something greater than herself. This cannot be a coincidence, she thought. This was not just a tomb or a temple. It was hidden, covered by the desert, as if meant to be found only at the right time. One of the workers, a strong man named Ryan, approached her with a cup of warm drink. He handed it to her and looked at the dark wall of the pyramid glowing faintly under the starlight. "What do you think it is for?" he asked quietly. Myra looked at the pyramid for a long moment before answering. "It could be a tomb, a vault, or a monument. But my heart tells me it is more. Look at how the surface shines. This is not stone alone. There is metal here, metal that still carries power. Something is alive inside these walls." Ryan frowned slightly. "Alive? After all these centuries?" "Not alive like us," Myra explained, "but alive with energy. It is waiting." The night passed slowly. Some of the team slept, while others stayed awake, guarding the site. Strange sounds rose from the pyramid at times, low hums like the breathing of the desert. Many thought it was only the shifting wind, but Myra knew it was not. She felt vibrations under her boots when she stood close to the wall. At dawn, the team gathered again to clear more sand. They uncovered a corner of the structure and found carvings pressed into the metal. The symbols were large, each one shaped like a mixture of lines and circles. No one could read them, but everyone felt their meaning. The markings seemed less like words and more like warnings. Myra ran her fingers lightly over the carvings. The metal was cool, even under the morning sun. She spoke softly, as if to the pyramid itself. "What are you hiding? What have you been waiting for?" The instruments Myra carried began to beep and glow. Energy levels around the pyramid rose quickly, pulsing in waves. The team stepped back nervously. Some thought it was dangerous, but Myra stepped closer. She felt no fear, only a strong pull to continue. She placed her palm flat against the wall. The moment her skin touched the surface, a deep vibration shook the ground. Sand leapt into the air, and the pyramid released a sound unlike anything they had ever heard. It was not a crash or roar but a tone, long and low, like the note of a great instrument stretching across the desert. Everyone froze, staring at Myra. She pulled her hand back quickly, breathing hard, yet she could not look away from the glowing surface. The lines of the carvings lit up with a faint blue light, as though awakened by her touch. "Something has begun," she whispered. Far above in orbit, human satellites circling the colony world caught the same vibration. The signal spread out from the pyramid, climbing into the sky like a beacon. It was not just sound. It was coded, shaped, and directed. The computers could not translate it, but one thing was clear. The pyramid was not silent anymore. It was speaking. Myra and her team stood in awe, unsure whether to feel joy or fear. The desert seemed different now, less empty, more alive. They had uncovered not just a monument but a secret that stretched beyond human understanding. The pyramid of the sleeping giants had awakened. The desert was no longer quiet. After Myra touched the wall of the pyramid, the air itself seemed to carry a hidden rhythm. At first it was faint, like a distant drum beat, but then it grew stronger, pulsing through the sand and stone. The team gathered around in silence, their eyes fixed on the glowing carvings. The blue light spread across the surface, traveling in lines that formed strange patterns. They moved like rivers of fire under the skin of the pyramid. The markings that once looked cold and dead now flowed with energy, as if the structure itself had been waiting for centuries to wake. Ryan held his tool tightly, his voice unsteady. "Myra, what did you do?" Myra did not answer at once. She kept her eyes on the wall, studying the light and the vibration that grew with every passing second. Finally, she spoke calmly. "I did not do anything. I only touched it. It wanted to wake up. It was waiting." The others shifted nervously. Some stepped back, but none could take their eyes away. Even the workers who were not scientists felt the weight of this discovery. This was not an ordinary ruin. This was something alive with memory. Far above, in the orbit of the colony world, the signal from the pyramid spread outward. The satellites caught it and tried to decode its meaning. On the colony's central base, scientists received the transmission and filled the control room with anxious voices. The signal was not random. It carried order, like a message. No one could yet read it, but they all agreed it was a call. Back in the desert, the ground shook again. This time, the vibrations rolled out in waves, pushing sand into the air. A section of the pyramid shifted, and a doorway appeared where there had been only smooth wall. The edges glowed brightly as if drawn by fire. The team stared at the opening in disbelief. "It wants us to go inside," Myra said. One of the engineers, a cautious man named Laren, shook his head quickly. "We cannot. It could be dangerous. We do not know what is inside." Myra's gaze did not leave the glowing doorway. "We came here to discover. If we turn away now, the desert will bury this place again. We may never have another chance." The team argued, their voices rising with fear and curiosity. But in the end, Myra's determination won. They prepared lights, scanners, and recording devices, then stepped slowly into the opening. Inside, the air was cool and heavy. The walls were smooth and shone with a faint metallic reflection. Symbols lined the hallways, glowing softly as if guiding the humans deeper into the pyramid. The floor was so polished it reflected their shadows. The deeper they went, the more powerful the hum became. It vibrated through their bones, not loud but strong, as if the pyramid was alive and breathing around them. After walking for what felt like an hour, they entered a vast chamber. It stretched higher than any hall they had ever seen. At its center stood a column rising from the floor to the ceiling, pulsing with blue and silver light. Around the edges of the chamber were more carvings, each one glowing in rhythm with the column's energy. The team spread out carefully, studying everything. Myra walked to the column and held her scanner near it. The machine flashed with numbers far beyond normal range. The energy here was greater than anything humans had recorded on this world. "This is a power source," she whispered. "Still running after all this time." Laren frowned. "But what is it powering? The lights? The door? Or something else?" Before Myra could answer, the column pulsed brighter. A wave of energy shot upward and disappeared into the ceiling. A moment later, the same wave blasted outward into space. Hundreds of light years away, in the darkness of the galaxy, ancient machines heard the signal. They were not human machines. They belonged to others, travelers of the stars who had once fought long wars. They knew the meaning of this signal. It was a sign they had prayed would never return. The giants were stirring again. Back in the desert, the humans felt the pyramid grow warmer. The carvings shifted slightly, changing their shapes. Myra studied them and realized they were no longer warnings. They looked like maps, perhaps records of battles long past. She reached out, her fingers tracing the glowing lines. Suddenly, the entire chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A sound filled the hall, deep and heavy, like the voice of a mountain. The humans could not understand the words, but they felt the meaning. The pyramid was aware of them. It had awakened and now recognized their presence. Some of the team panicked and rushed toward the exit, but Myra stood still. She felt a strange calmness in her chest, as if the pyramid was not threatening her but speaking directly to her. "It knows us," she said. "It knows humanity. This is not an accident. We were meant to find it." Ryan stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "But why now? Why not long before?" Myra shook her head slowly. "Maybe we were not ready before. Maybe it has been waiting for a time when humans could understand, when we could decide what to do with this power." The column pulsed again, brighter than before. Outside, the pyramid's surface lit up fully, casting blue light across the desert. From the colony base miles away, settlers saw the glow on the horizon and stared in shock. The message was clear to all. Something great had awakened. By nightfall, the team returned to camp, shaken but alive. The opening to the pyramid closed behind them, sealing as smoothly as before. Only the faint glow remained. Myra sat quietly near the fire, her notebook open, her mind racing. She wrote down every detail she could remember, yet even as she wrote, she felt she was leaving something important out. She looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, she knew, someone had heard the signal. It was not just a message to humans. It was a call across the galaxy. She felt both fear and hope pressing on her heart. The desert was silent once more, but Myra knew silence could not last. The pyramid had awakened, and the universe would answer. The desert winds blew hard the next morning, carrying fine sand across the camp. The humans had slept lightly, each of them disturbed by the memory of the glowing walls and the deep voice of the pyramid. Myra rose early and walked to the uncovered side of the structure. She placed her hand on the cool surface again, but this time it did not glow. It remained quiet, as if waiting for her decision. Behind her, Ryan approached with careful steps. His eyes were tired but steady. "You believe there is more inside, don't you?" he asked. Myra nodded without hesitation. "The column we saw was not the heart. It was only a door. There are deeper chambers below. The pyramid is more than a power source. It is a resting place." "Resting place?" Ryan asked. "Yes, Myra said softly. Something is sealed within it. Not statues, not machines. Living beings, though asleep. Ryan frowned but did not argue. He had seen the symbols change, had felt the ground shake as if a heartbeat echoed through the stone. He knew Myra's words carried truth, even if it was frightening. The team gathered again at the entrance. This time, when they stepped closer, the pyramid opened without Myra's touch. The smooth wall split apart, creating a passageway that glowed faintly. It was as if the pyramid recognized them now, inviting them back. They entered carefully, their footsteps echoing. The air inside was still cool and heavy, carrying a metallic taste. Instead of turning toward the great column, Myra led them down a new path. Symbols lit up on the walls, forming an arrow-like trail that guided their way. The humans followed, their fear mixed with curiosity. After a long walk, they reached a set of massive doors. Each door was carved with the shape of a giant figure holding a long staff. The carvings were so tall that the humans felt like insects before them. The symbols around the doors pulsed slowly, as if breathing. Laren whispered, his voice trembling. These are guardians. Whoever built this did not mean for us to enter easily. Myra stepped closer. No, they are not guardians. They are sleepers. They want us to see. She placed her hand on the door. At once, the carvings glowed and the doors moved, sliding open with a deep rumble. The sound shook the air and the humans braced themselves, but what lay beyond stole every breath from their lungs. The chamber was enormous. It stretched so far that their lights could not find the far wall. The ceiling arched high above like the sky of a hidden world. Along both sides of the chamber were rows of towering crystal pods, each one holding a figure inside. The figures were giants. Their bodies were shaped like humans but far larger, their height at least 3 times that of any human. They wore strange armor that shimmered faintly, and their faces were calm, as if lost in dreams. Each giant held a staff or a blade across their chest, symbols of power and protection. The humans stood frozen, staring in awe. They are not statues, Ryan whispered. They are alive. Myra stepped forward, her voice low but steady. Yes. They are sleeping, waiting for something. For someone. The pods glowed faintly, their light pulsing in time with the deep hum of the pyramid. Myra realized the entire structure was a cradle, designed to preserve these beings for ages beyond measure. Laren scanned the nearest pod with his device. The readings shocked him. There is movement inside. Very slow, but real. These giants are not dead. They are in suspension, a kind of deep sleep that has lasted centuries. The team could hardly believe it. The legends of the settlers had always spoken of giants, of ancient protectors who once walked the world. Most had dismissed these as stories, but now the truth stood before them, greater and more terrifying than the tales. Myra studied the giants carefully. Their armor was unlike anything made by humans. It seemed grown rather than forged, its surface alive with faint patterns that shifted slowly like flowing water. Their weapons looked both simple and advanced, made of materials unknown. This is why the signal was sent, she said. The pyramid was not just calling out. It was warning others. These giants were hidden here, and now they are stirring. The team moved quietly among the rows of pods, their footsteps soft in the vast chamber. Some of them felt awe, while others felt fear. If these giants awoke, what would they do? Would they see humans as allies or as intruders? At the far end of the chamber stood a larger pod, taller and brighter than the rest. Inside lay the figure of a giant with a crown-like helm and a staff that glowed faintly with blue fire. Myra stared at this one longest, sensing its importance. This one is the leader, she said. The others wait for him. If he wakes, they will wake. The hum in the chamber grew louder, the rhythm of a deep heartbeat rising. The pods glowed brighter, and for a moment it seemed the giants would open their eyes. The humans stepped back in alarm, but then the glow settled again, returning to its slow pulse. Myra placed her hand on the glass of the leader's pod. She felt warmth beneath her palm, a steady life force. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Who are you? Why did you sleep? And why have you called us here?" There was no answer, only the steady hum. Yet Myra felt certain that these giants would not sleep forever. Far above the world, the signal that had been sent from the pyramid continued to travel through space. It reached distant systems, touching ears that did not welcome it. On a world far away, alien commanders watched the signal with alarm. They recognized it as the same call they had silenced long ago when they fought against the giants. They had believed the last of these beings destroyed, but now they knew some had survived, hidden beneath the sands of a human colony. Orders were given. Fleets began to move. The aliens would not allow the giants to return. Back in the desert, the humans left the chamber, their minds heavy with what they had seen. The pyramid sealed behind them once more, as if guarding the giants until the right time. The team sat silently by their fire that night, the stars shining above them. No one spoke for a long time. Each person struggled to understand what their discovery meant. Humanity was no longer alone with its own history. They had stepped into the shadow of beings far older and far greater. Myra looked toward the glowing outline of the pyramid and whispered to herself, "They are waiting for us." But waiting for what? The nights in the desert grew restless after the discovery of the giants. The campfires burned low, and the team spoke little. Each person carried heavy thoughts of what they had seen inside the pyramid. The images of the crystal pods and the sleeping figures haunted their minds. Myra stayed awake long into the night, staring at the stars above. She knew the signal sent from the pyramid had reached far beyond their world. She could feel it in her bones, a quiet certainty that others had heard the call. Her thoughts were confirmed 2 days later. At dawn, the sky above the colony filled with streaks of light. At first, the settlers believed they were meteors, but the streaks slowed and changed direction. They were ships, hundreds of them, descending from space. Their hulls glimmered like stone, their shapes sharp and angular. They were not human vessels. The alarm spread quickly through the colony. Radios crackled with hurried voices, and warning sirens echoed across the settlements. Myra and her team stood outside the pyramid, shielding their eyes as the ships passed overhead. "They came for the signal," Ryan said with a grim voice. "They know what lies here." The ships did not attack at once. Instead, they hovered in the high atmosphere, casting long shadows over the desert. Their presence was enough to silence the entire colony. Fear spread faster than the sandstorms that swept the dunes. By evening, one of the ships descended lower. A beam of light poured down, and within it, a tall figure appeared. The figure walked across the sand with calm, steady steps. It was not human. Its body was slender, its skin pale and almost silver, and its eyes glowed faintly as if carrying inner fire. The settlers gathered at a distance, whispering nervously. Myra stepped forward, her heart racing but her will steady. The figure stopped a few meters from her, its gaze fixed upon her as though it already knew who she was. When it spoke, its voice was clear and heavy, carrying inhuman weight. "This place is forbidden. You have awakened what should never be awakened." Myra lifted her chin. "We did not awaken it by force. The pyramid opened itself. The giants inside are not dead. They are alive, and they belong to this world." The figure's expression hardened. "They belong to no one. They are destroyers. Long ago they brought ruin across the stars. My kind and many others fought them, until they were driven into silence. We believed the last of them gone. Now we see that they hid beneath your sands. Leave this place, human, or you will be destroyed with them." The settlers behind Myra murmured in fear, but Myra did not move. She kept her voice calm. "If they were only destroyers, Why hide them in sleep instead of destroying them completely? Someone believed they were worth saving. Someone believed they would be needed again. The alien's eyes glowed brighter for a moment. You do not understand. Their power is beyond your control. If they wake, they will not listen to you. They will burn your worlds as they once burned ours. Myra shook her head. I saw them. They are not mindless beasts. They are guardians. If they fought, it was not without reason. And if they called out now, it is because the time has come. The alien raised a hand, and the desert sand stirred around him. His voice dropped lower. You are too young, too weak to grasp what you are dealing with. Leave this place, or our fleets will erase you. With that, the figure dissolved into the beam of light and vanished back into the sky. The ship above turned slowly, joining the others that still circled like birds of prey. The humans stood in silence. The warning had been clear. The aliens did not want the giants to rise again. That night, the colony leaders gathered in the command hall. Myra was invited to speak, for she was the one who had discovered the pyramid. The leaders argued bitterly. Some wanted to seal the site, abandon the desert, and avoid provoking the alien fleet. Others feared that surrender would show weakness and invite destruction anyway. When her turn came, Myra spoke with steady conviction. We have seen the giants with our own eyes. They are not gone. They are waiting. If these aliens fear them, then we must ask why. Is it because the giants were monsters, or because they were protectors too strong to be controlled? If we walk away now, we will never know. We will live in fear of both the aliens above and the secrets beneath our sands. Some nodded at her words, while others shook their heads. But in the end, the leaders could not reach full agreement. They sent messages to Earth for advice, but the distance was great and answers would take weeks. In the meantime, they could only watch the skies. Back at the pyramid, Myra returned to the entrance. She felt the stone beneath her hand and whispered, "They fear you. That is why they came. But I do not. If you wake, will you protect us, or will you bring the fire they warn of?" The pyramid did not answer. Its walls were silent, but the faint hum still echoed beneath the sand. Above, the alien fleet shifted slowly in the night sky. The settlers saw their lights like strange stars, waiting, watching, circling. It was clear that time was running short. Either the humans would abandon the pyramid, or the aliens would force their choice. In the silence of her tent, Myra could not sleep. She remembered the calm faces of the giants in their crystal pods. They did not look like destroyers. They looked like warriors resting after a long struggle, waiting for the day they were needed again. She closed her eyes and made a quiet promise to herself. I will not let them erase you. I will not let them erase us. If you wake, I will be here. Far away in the dark of space, the alien commanders gave their orders. The fleets began to descend. The colony had never felt so divided. News of the alien fleet spread across every settlement, filling the air with fear. People watched the skies at night and saw the unnatural stars that moved slowly above them, the lights of enemy ships. The presence of the pyramid had changed from wonder to burden. In the command hall, voices rose in argument. The leaders of the colony sat at a long table, their faces lit by the blue glow of screens showing the alien fleet. The room was filled with settlers, workers, and scientists, all waiting to hear what choice would be made. Some shouted that they must abandon the desert. If we stay, we invite war. The aliens are stronger. They have ships, weapons, and numbers beyond us. We cannot win against them. Others stood firm in defiance. This is our home. If we surrender once, we will surrender forever. They will take what they wish, and we will be left with nothing. The pyramid is part of our world now, and we cannot turn away. Myra listened to every voice, her hands folded on the table. She had been asked to speak again, for she had touched the pyramid and seen the giants inside. When the room grew quiet, she rose and faced the crowd. "I know you are afraid," she began, her voice steady though her heart beat quickly. "So am I. But fear cannot be the only reason for our choice. We discovered something no one has seen for centuries, perhaps for thousands of years. The giants are not gone. They are here, waiting. The aliens fear them because they know what they mean. They know that if the giants rise, humans will no longer be easy to control. We will have strength they cannot match." A leader named Sarin leaned forward, his voice sharp. "And what if the aliens speak truth? What if the giants are not guardians but destroyers? What if they wake and turn against us?" Myra met his gaze without flinching. "If they were only destroyers, they would not have placed themselves in sleep. They would have burned everything until nothing remained. Instead, they hid here, preserved by the pyramid. They waited, not for themselves, but for us. I believe they are not monsters. I believe they are a legacy meant to be passed on." The room fell into deep silence. Some nodded at her words, while others still looked doubtful. But doubt could not erase the fact that the aliens had already chosen their path. Their fleet moved closer each day, and soon they would strike. By the end of the meeting, the decision was made. The colony would not surrender. They would defend the pyramid, not because they believed they could defeat the alien fleet with their own weapons, but because giving up meant losing everything. If the giants inside were to wake, they must be given the chance. The settlers began preparing defenses. Old mining machines were turned into armored vehicles. Energy rifles were distributed to workers who had never fought before. Watchtowers were built around the desert edge, their lights scanning the skies for signs of movement. Myra spent her days at the pyramid. She walked along its surface, touched its walls, and whispered to it as if it were a living thing. She hoped the giants could hear her through their endless sleep. "Humanity has chosen to stay," she whispered one evening, standing before the great wall that once opened for her. "We will stand against the fleet, though we are small. If you can hear us, if you mean to protect, then now is the time." The pyramid gave no clear answer, yet she felt the faint hum beneath her feet, steady like a heartbeat. It gave her hope. The days passed quickly, and the alien fleet grew more aggressive. Their ships moved lower, their shadows darkening the land. Strange drones appeared in the sky, circling the settlements like watchers. A message was broadcast through every channel. "You have been warned. Leave the pyramid and return to your cities. If you do not, we will bring fire upon you." The settlers gathered in silence as the words echoed across the airwaves. Children clung to their parents, and many trembled with fear. Yet no one moved toward the desert edge. They had made their choice. At night, Myra returned to the chamber of the giants with Ryan and Laren by her side. The pods glowed faintly, their light reflecting on the humans' faces. Myra walked to the largest pod, the one holding the crowned leader, and placed her hand upon the crystal surface. "We are ready to fight," she said quietly. "But we cannot win alone. If you are truly guardians, then rise. Rise before it is too late." The hum in the chamber deepened, stronger than before. The pods pulsed with brighter light, and for a moment the humans believed the giants would awaken. But the glow faded again, and silence returned. Laren shook his head. "Maybe they are not ready. Maybe they will never wake." Myra refused to step away. "No. They will wake when the time is right. They are waiting for our choice, and we have chosen. Now the rest is theirs." When they returned outside, the desert sky was alive with fire. Alien ships descended lower than ever before, their engines roaring across the dunes. Dust storms rose in their wake, and the ground trembled beneath their weight. The settlers took their positions, weapons ready though their hands shook. Every man and woman who could fight stood in the sand, watching the sky. They knew their weapons were weak compared to the fleet, but their hearts were strong. Myra stood at the front, her eyes on the horizon. Behind her, the pyramid glowed faintly, as if aware of what was to come. The first alien ship broke through the clouds, its hull gleaming like polished stone. It aimed directly at the pyramid, preparing to strike. The settlers raised their weapons, though they knew they could not stop it. Myra whispered one last time, her voice carried by the wind. "If you are our guardians, wake now. We need you." The ship descended lower, its shadow swallowing the desert floor. The settlers braced for impact. And then, from deep within the pyramid, a sound rose. It was not a hum but a roar, a sound of power so vast it shook the sand and split the air. The surface of the pyramid flared with light, brighter than the sun, and the carvings glowed as if alive. The ground trembled, and the desert itself seemed to breathe. The giants were stirring. The desert shook as if the world itself was waking. Sand leapt into the air, tents collapsed, and people fell to their knees. From within the pyramid came the sound of thunder, deep and steady, like the beat of a colossal heart. Myra stood at the front of the settlers, her eyes wide but unblinking. She knew what this sound meant. The giants were answering. The time had come. Above, the alien ship that had been descending slowed in confusion. Its sharp hull tilted as if sensing the sudden surge of power from the pyramid. The other ships in orbit shifted as well, breaking formation. The skies grew tense, filled with strange lights as the aliens prepared for what they feared most. The pyramid glowed brighter than ever before. The carvings across its walls shone like rivers of fire, spreading in all directions. A line split across the structure, and a great door opened, wider than any human machine could build. From the opening poured a light so bright that the settlers shielded their eyes. And then, they appeared. The first giant stepped into the desert with slow, powerful strides. His armor shone with pale blue light, and each step shook the ground. He was more than 3 times the height of a human, yet his form was balanced, graceful, and strong. His face was calm, his eyes closed as if still half in dream. He held a long staff that gleamed with the same energy as the pyramid itself. Behind him came another, and then another. The chamber of sleep had opened, and the guardians within were waking one by one. Their movements were steady, unhurried, as though they had been waiting for this moment through endless ages. The settlers gasped and cried out, some falling to their knees in awe. Ryan whispered, his voice trembling with wonder, "They are real. They are truly alive." Myra stepped forward, her heart racing but steady. She raised her voice so all could hear. "The giants have risen. We are not alone anymore." The aliens in the sky moved quickly now. Their ships descended in force, dozens of them, their weapons glowing. They had no intention of waiting for the giants to fully wake. They would strike first, as they had long ago. Bolts of energy fell from the sky, striking the desert. Explosions tore into the sand, throwing fire and dust high into the air. The settlers ran for cover, their rifles useless against the raining destruction. The sky itself seemed to burn. But the giants did not falter. The leader emerged last, taller and more powerful than the rest. His crown-like helm shone with fierce light, and his staff blazed like a torch against the night. As he opened his eyes, the air seemed to change. A deep blue glow filled the desert, and every alien weapon in the sky hesitated, as if frozen for a heartbeat. He lifted his staff and struck it into the sand. The ground shook violently, and a wave of energy spread outward. The bolts from the alien ships were caught mid-flight and dissolved into harmless sparks. The settlers stared in shock, their fear turning into hope. The giants moved together, raising their weapons. Streams of light poured from their staffs and blades, cutting through the air with precision. The first alien ship exploded in a flash, breaking apart into the clouds. Another followed, torn open by a sweep of blue fire. The fleet responded with fury. Dozens of ships fired at once, filling the sky with fire. The desert lit up like day, explosions roaring all around. The settlers huddled together, certain the giants could not withstand such power. But the giants stood firm. Their armor glowed brighter, forming a barrier that shielded the humans below. Energy struck their forms, but the blast slid away as if striking stone. For every bolt fired, the giants answered with tenfold strength. One by one, alien ships fell from the sky, burning into the sand or exploding before they touched the ground. Myra watched with tears in her eyes. These were not destroyers. These were guardians. They fought not for themselves, but for the humans standing beneath their protection. The leader of the giants turned his gaze toward Myra. For a brief moment, their eyes met across the distance. She felt a voice inside her mind, calm and powerful. You chose to stand. We rise because you did not flee. We rise because you were ready. Her knees weakened under the weight of the words, yet her heart soared. Humanity had not been abandoned. They had been chosen. The battle raged on. The aliens poured more ships into the desert, their weapons blazing, but the giants answered every attack. The sky became a storm of fire and light. The earth shook with every strike. To the settlers, it was as if the legends of old had come alive, a war of gods fought above the sands. But even giants could not stand forever. The aliens were endless, their fleet stretching far beyond the horizon. For every ship destroyed, more descended. The giants fought with unwavering strength, yet Myra saw their armor dimming, their movements slowing. The battle was fierce, and its outcome uncertain. Still, the giants did not retreat. Their leader raised his staff once more, and a great circle of light spread across the desert. The settlers inside felt warmth and calm as the barrier shielded them from every blast. The giants outside continued to strike with fire and steel, holding the line against the endless swarm. Ryan stood beside Myra, his face lit by the glow of the battle. They fight for us. They could have left, but they stay. They protect us. Yes, Myra said, her voice firm. They are not destroyers. They are our allies. As the night deepened, the battle stretched on. The desert burned, the sky thundered, and the world trembled beneath the clash of power. Yet through it all, the settlers stood, no longer only afraid but filled with pride. Humanity had chosen to resist. And because of that choice, the giants had risen. The aliens still filled the sky, their fleet endless, but the sight of the guardians standing tall in the desert gave the settlers strength. Whatever happened next, they knew the truth. Humanity was not weak, not forgotten, and not alone. The giants had returned, and with them, hope had risen. The desert was a storm of light and fire. Alien ships circled above like dark birds, firing their weapons without rest. The giants stood tall in the sand, their glowing armor forming shields around the settlers. For every blast that struck, they answered with beams of blue fire that tore through the sky. Myra watched in awe as the leader of the giants raised his staff once more. A wave of light burst outward, striking 3 ships at once and sending them crashing into the dunes. The settlers cheered, their voices rising above the thunder of battle. For the first time, they felt not just fear, but hope. Yet the fleet above was vast. No matter how many ships fell, more appeared from the clouds. The giants fought without hesitation, but Myra could see their glowing armor dimming with every strike. They had awakened strong, but even their power had limits. The leader of the giants turned his gaze to Myra again. His voice entered her mind, calm and steady, though weighted with sorrow. You have chosen courage. Humanity has proven its heart. But we cannot fight forever. Our time is short. This is your world now, and you must protect it. Myra's throat tightened. She wanted to beg them to stay, to fight until every alien was gone. But in her heart she knew the truth. The giants were not meant to remain forever. They had awakened to guide humanity in this moment, to show that strength was possible even against impossible odds. The leader lifted his staff high. The other giants followed, raising their weapons as one. The desert shook, and the sky split with light. A single wave of energy spread outward in every direction, brighter than the sun. The alien ships froze in the air, their weapons silenced. One by one, they turned and fled, retreating back into the dark sky. The settlers raised their hands to shield their eyes as the heavens cleared. When the light faded, the giants still stood, but their glow was weaker now. Their weapons dimmed, their armor faded. Slowly, they began to turn toward the horizon. "No," Myra whispered, stepping forward. "Do not leave us. We need you." The leader lowered his staff and looked at her with calm eyes. His voice echoed once more in her mind. "You do not need us. You never did. You only needed to believe in your own strength. We slept so that one day, a younger race would prove worthy of carrying what we once carried. That day has come." Myra's eyes filled with tears. "But what will become of you?" "We will return to the silence," the voice said. "Our war ended long ago. This was our final task. To stand once more, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The future belongs to you." The giants began to walk across the desert, their forms glowing faintly like fading stars. With each step, their light dimmed further. The settlers watched in silence, unable to speak, their hearts heavy with both grief and gratitude. The leader stopped one last time before Myra. He placed the end of his staff into the sand. The weapon sank slightly, glowing brighter than before. He left it standing there, a gift, its light pulsing gently like a heartbeat. "Carry this," he said. "It holds the memory of our people. It will guide you, and through it, we will still walk with you." Myra reached out and touched the staff. The moment her hand closed around it, she felt a surge of warmth, not painful but strong, filling her with courage. She saw visions of stars, of great battles fought long ago, and of the giants standing side by side with other races. She felt their victories, their sacrifices, their choices. And then the vision faded, leaving only quiet strength inside her. When she opened her eyes, the giants were gone. They had walked into the desert horizon, their light swallowed by the endless dunes. The pyramid behind her was silent once more, its doors sealed, its hum fading into stillness. The settlers gathered around Myra. Ryan stood closest, his voice low. "They are gone, but because of them, we are still here." Myra looked down at the staff, glowing faintly in her hands. She nodded. "They gave us more than protection. They gave us a chance. Now it is our turn to build, to defend, to stand." The desert slowly returned to calm. The skies were clear again, the alien fleet driven back into the stars. The settlers began to rebuild their camp, their fear replaced with determination. Word spread quickly through the colony, and across the settlements people spoke not of defeat, but of hope. The story of the giants spread even faster than fear ever had. Children listened wide-eyed to tales of glowing warriors who rose from beneath the sands to fight for humanity. Adults spoke of courage, of the choice to stand even when the odds were impossible. For the first time, the settlers no longer felt alone on a distant world. They felt part of something greater. Myra stood often by the pyramid, the staff always near her side. She knew the aliens would return one day, perhaps stronger than before. But she no longer feared that day. The staff reminded her that strength was not measured by size or power alone. It was measured by the courage to rise when the world said to kneel. At night, she would look at the stars and whisper, "We will not forget you. Your silence is not the end. It is the beginning of us." The desert winds carried her words into the horizon, where the giants had walked. Though their forms were gone, their presence remained in every grain of sand, in every star above, and in the hearts of the humans who had seen them rise. The pyramid of the sleeping giants stood quiet again, but its promise lived on. humanity had been tested, and humanity had chosen to stand. That choice was their true inheritance, and with it, they would shape their own future among the stars.